I know you all clicked on the video, and short answer is you are not a fake, and neither am I. Hello lovely humans, welcome to the space on the internet. I'm Elle, and I'm talking about imposterism as an asexual. So imposterism, otherwise known as imposter syndrome or perceived fraudulence, involves feeling as though you're not actually deserving of your accomplishments due to a perceived fraudulence. This means you may see yourself as a fake, and you may feel as though you've manipulated or tricked the people around you into believing in your worth, abilities, and accomplishments. When I talk about asexual imposterism specifically, I'm referring to the struggle that I know many aces have with coming to terms with their identity. Note that this extends to most queer people and is not restricted to asexuals. However, I will be talking primarily about asexuals and a little bit about aromantics in this video. Asexual imposterism often involves feeling hesitance with fully identifying with the term asexual for fear of being a fake or wrong about your identity. I think this is particularly prevalent in aspec communities because aspec identities are based on a lack of attraction. These people may find themselves doubting their identity more because there's nothing explicitly happening, it's just a lack of attraction. So that might lead to having lingering doubts of, oh, maybe I'll eventually feel attraction this way. Or maybe I actually just have a hormone imbalance. And I know, for me in particular, I ask myself a lot, well, maybe I'm just trying to be special or unique or whatever to get attention. Asexual imposterism can cause a lot of harm. It may keep people from being truly comfortable with their identity and feeling good about who they are. It can lead to doubting your personal experiences or your feelings, which can lead to suppression of emotions, which apparently builds up and is not generally a good thing. It can cause frustration or anxiety. It can also fuel internalized self-hatred or internalized acephobia, which is like homophobia but the asexual equivalent. It can stop people from coming out due to not feeling as though they're maybe a valid or real asexual. Asexual imposterism can push people to do things that they're maybe not comfortable with in order to prove or disprove their identity. For example, they may go out with or engage sexually with people that they're not really into just to prove to themselves that they are or aren't asexual because they feel as though they could possibly be an imposter or a fake. We'll get to my experience with asexual imposterism in a little bit here. Before we get there, I wanted to share a few phrases that I think are probably a good representation of different thoughts someone who's experiencing asexual imposterism may think. I'm not really asexual, I'm just broken. What if I'm actually wrong about my identity and I'm wasting my time posing as ace when in reality I will want sexual or romantic relationships and can feel sexual attraction? I've had sexual experiences before, so I don't know how I could possibly be ace. What if I'm only saying I'm ace because I'm lonely and sad and unlovable and want to feel better about myself for not being in a romantic or sexual relationship? I'm probably just unable to feel not actually ace. What if I'm just using the term ace to feel special or quirky? What if I come out as ace and then suddenly feel sexual attraction and then I would have just lied to everybody I just came out to? I don't think I've ever been discriminated against for being ace, so I probably don't have a place in the LGBTQ+ community. I might just be introverted or have social anxiety. It might not be that I'm ace. I shouldn't call myself ace because it would be sort of selfish and weird of me to force such a complicated and obscure identity on the people around me when it might not even be real. I can imagine dating or having sex with people, so I think I must want it deep down. I'm probably actually straight and probably intruding on LGBTQ+ spaces. I could at least try to be sexually intimate just to see if I actually experience sexual attraction. Asexuality probably isn't even real. It goes against evolution and biology, and therefore I obviously can't be asexual. I'm just confused. What if I'm not ace enough and therefore invalidating the experiences of people who are actually ace? So those are just a few, and you can see the common theme is that they're all looking to external events in order to justify that, oh, maybe I'm not actually ace, maybe I'm faking it. Imposterism can exist as both an internally and or externally rooted phenomenon, and it will be different for everybody. However, I believe that it often works from the outside in. The reason aces may feel these feelings of imposterism, like I listed above, have these sorts of thoughts, can be a matter of how asexuality is represented in their environment and how the world around them has reacted to asexuality. So if we keep insisting that asexuality is some physical or mental illness, people may find themselves doubting their asexuality in favor of thinking, maybe I'm just ill in one way or another. If we keep saying that asexuality is just for unattractive losers to feel better about themselves, aces are going to genuinely consider that they might not actually be ace, they're just unattractive losers. If we keep saying that aces don't belong in queer spaces, aces are going to believe they don't belong in queer spaces. They're going to doubt that they deserve a space and a community. Further, if we insist that asexuals do not deserve a space in the community for lack of discrimination or a lack of a struggle with their identity or because they're basically straight, not true. These people are going to have to question whether their identity is valid. They're going to have to question whether they're deserving of support because they haven't been openly discriminated against in the same way that someone who is gay might have been. They may also begin to believe that asexuality doesn't come with its own range of struggles and experiences, and therefore shame both themselves and other asexuals around them or invalidate them. If we keep saying that asexuality doesn't make sense or doesn't exist, people are going to think that what they're feeling is not real, that it doesn't make sense, and that it shouldn't exist. This means they might not ever come out, they might not ever come to terms with their identity, because there's a fear there that they're faking it, and that their experiences aren't real. So here we go, about to get a little personal, which I didn't think I'd be doing a whole lot here in the internet world, universe. But I don't know, I thought I could at least try. Anyways, so my experience with asexual imposterism was long. After sort of hearing and beginning to consider the terms asexual and then aromantic, I began contemplating my identity. And by that I mean having this identity crisis for about 8 months before I even came close to having some semblance of comfortability with identifying as aromantic asexual. And even after that, and to this day, I still experience feelings of imposterism. Now it's mostly with regards to my non-binary gender, and in the same way I worry now about my gender in that maybe I'm not actually non-binary. Over those 8+ months, I was worrying I'm probably faking being aro-ace. I really thought that I probably was just contemplating the terms because I wanted to feel special or unique or quirky or get in with the queer crowd. And Lau, go watch her video, she's amazing. Lau had already come out to me as bi long before I even began contemplating these identities. And she had spoken to me quite openly about the struggles of being bi. I had a lot of queer friends, I had a lot of queer acquaintances, I had a lot of queer people around me. The rainbow was everywhere, which you would think would be ideal for someone trying to come to terms with their queer identity. 'Twas not, for me at least, not when the asexual imposterism turned up. It made me think that I was invalidating the struggles of other queer people, like the ones around me, by being able to so easily identify as aro-ace without any consequences. Because for all I knew at that time, aspec people didn't experience discrimination. It seemed like the ace spectrum was a perfect way for straight people to masquerade as queer for attention. I thought this because there didn't seem to be any real consequences for being on the asexual or aromantic spectrum in the same way that there were for maybe gay people. I was under the impression that an invisible identity was a great way to fake being queer. I thought I wasn't struggling compared to all these people, and that my struggle with what I thought might have been aromanticism or asexuality was not valid when put up against that of other queer people, which led to me believing that I didn't deserve a space in the queer community. So guess what? I resorted to isolating myself to my cruel brain and the eternal internet. I obsessively googled these terms, asexual, aromantic, and the aspectrum, and there would be days where I couldn't think of anything else other than how I was a terrible person for taking all this time and energy to Google and think about these terms, these identities, just so I could pretend to be them. This might be a little bit extreme, and the funniest part was that I hadn't even told anyone at this point that I was contemplating that I might be aro-ace. So how could I possibly be pretending for attention when I had not actually sought out any attention? Which brings me to my next point. I never actually came out. I have told 2 people about my aro-ace identity, and I didn't actually tell them very directly. I waited for them to ask. And then when they did ask about my identity, I gave very short and unspecific answers because I felt as though I did not deserve to identify with asexuality, aromanticism, and with the queer community. I was unworthy of that. I feared that I was taking up too much space in that queer universe. And after the fact, I was talking to Lau about this, and she said something along the lines of, "You being ace never made me feel any less bi," which felt ridiculously and grossly oversimplified when compared to my 8+ months of worrying obsessively about that. But that was kind of the bottom line. I wasn't hurting anybody. I was just existing. And even if I was wrong about my orientation, even if I am, it's not that big of a deal because the most important part about questioning is finding labels and identities that describe your experiences and that you feel comfortable with. And that doesn't invalidate anybody else's experience or identity. In fact, I think the more people who come to accept and be comfortable with their identity, the stronger it makes the queer community. So I wasn't invalidating these people's experiences, and even if I'm just one person, I was actually making their community stronger. At least that's what I would like to believe. So for all of you who are questioning or have questioned, you're probably not a fraud. You're probably not fake. And even if you happen to be, even if you are wrong, it's not that big of a deal. We love you anyways. And it's okay to feel that way, as if you're an imposter. And a lot of people like you also feel that way. And yeah, that's all I have to say on asexual imposterism. I'd like to hear if it's something you've experienced, whether you are ace, aro, queer, or whatever. For whatever reason, you may have experienced this sort of imposterism, and hopefully you've made it through, and if not, you can know that I have, and I believe you can too. I don't know. I believe in you. I believe that you're valid. Thank you for taking the time to exist in the space of the internet. I will see you next time. Bye. I love you all.